Hello, my name is Adriana Bin. I'm assistant professor at the School of Applied Science, University of Campinas, Brazil, and I also a coordinator of the Laboratory of Studies on Organizational Research and Innovation, GEOP. And on behalf of my co-authors, I'm going to present the work Research Funding and Scientific Performance, Measuring the Impact of a PhD Scholarship Program. This is the outline of my presentation. I'm going through the background, purpose, and research question. Then I'm going to talk about the methodology we employed, the main findings, and then the conclusions and implications of the study. Regarding the background, while looking at the STI policies worldwide, we can see historical governmental interest in training qualified human resources, particularly in master and PhD levels. These policies oriented to master and PhD students has multiple impacts. We can see the private returns expressed in higher wages of people that has the titles of PhD, for instance. We can see the learning and teaching effects because most of them go to higher education institutions and dedicate themselves to teaching. We can see the potential transfer of knowledge to industry and the contribution to the innovation process, but with no doubt we can see the impacts in the increase of the pool of knowledge and the advancement of knowledge. This means that graduate students are considered an essential part of the academic workforce and have significant participation in the publication process. The expression on the shoulders of students talking about publications and this interaction between supervisor and PhD students can reveal this great importance. We have some studies that has investigated the relation between research funding through scholarship and scientific productivity of PhD and postdoc students. And most of them found a positive relation between this funding and the scientific productivity. There are studies in different countries, particular knowledge fields, particular time intervals, but the main point here is that the funding allows the students to dedicate themselves a lot to their studies, and interact with other researchers. And this means that they have more time and can concentrate themselves in doing a good research and also publicate their research results. Regarding Brazilian context, we have very few studies of the impact of these PhD scholarship programs. And beyond that, we have many threats regarding government funding to science, technology, and innovation in the country, and particular master and doctoral scholarship. In the last few years, we have a lot of controversial policies about this in our country. Given this context, the purpose of our study was to evaluate the impact of São Paulo Research Foundation Doctoral Scholarship Program. São Paulo Research Foundation, FAPESP, is the most important state research funding agency in Brazil. And our research question is how the program impacts the scientific performance of its beneficiaries. To accomplish this objective, we employed a quasi-experimental evaluation design with one treatment group and two control groups. The treatment group was composed of all individuals who applied for a PhD scholarship from FAPESP during the period of 2003-2017 and had their request granted from the agency. And in the control group, we have those that were denied from FAPESP, but had scholarship from other agencies, mainly here we are talking about CAPES and CNPq, which are both federal agencies, and the second group, control group, is composed by those that were denied from FAPESP, rejected by FAPESP, but did their PhD students without any funding support. Here we are talking about data for circa of 21,000 individuals. To collect all this data, sorry, before talking about the data collection, we need to know that to do the pairing, we used exact matching with propensity score as matching distance. And these are the baseline control variables that we used. The starting year of the different academic stages of the individuals, undergraduate, master, and PhD, the field of knowledge of doctoral research of the individuals, the institution and city in which the PhD was carried out, the occurrence of PhD funding support, and if positive, the type of scholarship, and the former scientific production of these individuals. Now we go to data collection. We depart from FAPESP database with all those that were awarded and denied from the agency, by the agency. And then we linked FAPESP database with CAPES database, which give us the information about PhD completion. Then we also linked FAPESP database with CITATIONS database, which is a public CV platform in Brazil with data from all our researchers. And in CITATIONS, we could find data about information about having or not having another kind of scholarship for those that were denied from FAPESP. And we also had the total information about their scientific production before, during, and after the PhD. We went for four types of publications: journal papers, book chapters, and papers in conference proceedings. And for journal papers, we also investigated the citations and age index in Scopus and Google Scholar. FAPESP scholarship effects were estimated using GLM, Generalized Linear Models approach, Poisson distribution, and log-link function. And the effect here is understood as the ratio between the average occurrence in each group, with one meaning no effect. And the effects indicates the scholarship influenced on the selected indicators, which mean numbers of publications, citations, and age index. Now going to our findings, here we have in these figures the number of publications comparing those awarded by FAPESP and those awarded by other agencies, which means the individuals that had scholarship from other agencies. And we can find here a positive effect in the number of publications, in the number of journal papers, book chapters, and books, respectively of 21%, 23%, and 14%. But as expected, we have a lot of difference between knowledge fields. For instance, here we can't find any effect in the number of journal papers in the engineering area, but we can see a very positive effects in the number of publications in the conference papers in the engineering area. We can find negative effects from FAPESP in humanities and social science regarding journal papers, but very positive effects in book chapters and books. The same occurs when comparing FAPESP awardees with those that did their PhD without any funding support. We have also here very positive effects, even higher than comparing with those that had scholarships from other agencies. And we also have a lot of difference in knowledge fields. The same happens, for instance, with engineering, with humanities, with social science, with languages, linguistic language, and arts. And here we can see another important information that we have negative effects from FAPESP PhD scholarship program regarding the number of conference papers, which means that those that did their PhD without any funding support goes even more for conference papers when comparing with those from FAPESP. That goes much more for journal papers, because those without funding mainly select a more straightforward path to publicate, to disseminate their research results. We also try to find some metrics to look at the quality of this publication, looking for age index and citations. And here we also find very positive effects that are even higher as the same that occurred with the number of publications when we compare FAPESP with those that didn't have any kind of scholarship. These positive effects occur for age index and for citations, both for Google Scholar and Scopus. And here we have these numbers. One important information here is that when we go to citations, we can't see any important effects before ending their PhD, which means the effect of scholarships just appear after the PhD conclusion, which means that during their PhD time, these students are very much dedicated to conducting their research, and they publish mainly after the defense of their dissertations. So here, the average of citations per paper until the end of the PhD research is 1 for all the groups, and then we have much higher numbers when we are looking at the number of citations per publications after the end of the PhD period, mainly for FAPESP and those that had other kind of scholarships. And these numbers are much higher than the Brazilian average of citations per publications in the same period, which means that we have a very important and very qualified scientific production from these people that did their PhD in São Paulo state and with scholarship from FAPESP, and also scholarship for other funding agencies. We have also a lot of difference between knowledge fields. Here we have the information of citations and age index in Google Scholar, comparing the two groups. And here we can see positive effects that we look at in general in the slide before, but here regarding knowledge areas. So for instance, in citations, we have like 4 times more citations in biology or health science when comparing to those that didn't have any kind of scholarship. So going to our conclusions, what we can say is that FAPESP PhD scholarship makes a quantitative and qualitative difference in scientific production, and that these effects are much more significant when comparing between former FAPESP scholarship holders and individuals who have completed a PhD course without a scholarship. And as expected, we had a lot of difference in knowledge fields. Effects in scientific production quality measured by citations and age index are detected mainly in non-humanistic and non-social science knowledge areas, where journal papers are the preferred vehicle for disseminating research results. So what we can say here is that without scholarships, there are essential threats to science in countries with Brazil social, economic profile, political profile, because postgraduate students are one of the foundations of Brazilian and also other countries' scientific and technology production. And they are also a renewing force in the advancement of knowledge made in public and private research institutions and universities. Here are our implications are twofold. Regarding policy implications, our study means that we need to reinforce doctoral scholarship programs, which seems obvious to many developed countries that have stimulated education and scientific research in moments of crisis. But this is very controversial in the Brazilian context, where governmental budgets decrease and research funding agencies suffer from constant menace, mainly in the last few years. As an important managerial implication, we can detach the need for funding research agencies to examine the behavior patterns related to different knowledge fields more deeply, to establish appropriate mechanisms for support PhD students and evaluate the impacts of scholarships. So that's it. Thank you a lot. This is my email and the website of our research group in Brazil. Please feel free to contact us if you have any doubt or even if you want to know more about our research. Thank you.